Vince Vaughn, Meg Tucker from Toronto, Chum FM. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Meg?
I'm good. I know we don't have a lot of time, so let's get right to it. The trailers for the breakup, and a lot of the advertising paints it to be a romantic comedy. So, we've got Rachel from Friends and Mr. Wedding Crasher. Are you at all surprised, Vince, at the feedback that you're receiving around the movie?
I'm really, the audiences have really loved this film, and not only did it open really well, it's continued to do really well. And I think people are really refreshed to see a movie that's not your same old typical movie. We want to take a movie that kind of has shows kind of like the demise of a relationship and do it in a way that's really funny and have some really big comedy in it, like we have in Wedding Crashers or Old School or Dodgeball, but then also have some twists that you don't expect and deal with it in a more complicated and heartfelt way. And I think, for me, coming from Swingers and Made and more independent film, we kind of brought that perspective to the movie, and I think that audiences have just really responded to the fact that this movie has some thought behind it. It doesn't do the things that most movies do, and I think people just really like that they're not seeing the same old movie again.
So when you were writing the breakup, did you say, okay, let's write a heartbreaking love story and sprinkle it with comedy, or was the intent to write kind of a rom-com and then layer it with the heartbreak?
It's a good question. I think what we really try to do was say, let's deal with stuff kind of truthfully. When we get to the comedic parts, exaggerate it for comedy, but still keep it grounded enough that when the movie turns, you can also take it in a very real way, in a very serious way. And it's such a dynamic that I think is really universal in all relationships. So we didn't work so much of saying, okay, let's make this part funny or this part dramatic. We worked more from a place of saying, what's the tracking of the stages of a breakup as you're going through it, and what seems authentic. And if the comedy served best at that point, we went with comedy. If it felt better to be just kind of more simple and authentic, we went with the more dramatic stuff.
So congrats, by the way, on writing the screenplay, co-writing it.
Thank you.
Did you have Jennifer Aniston in mind from the get-go?
We did. When we were working on the screenplay, I knew that we really needed someone who was really good with comedy but was also a good dramatic actress. And Jennifer is both of those things. And even my part in Wedding Crashers with Isla Fisher, who plays the girl I end up marrying, it's really a tennis match between me and her. She's very funny in the scenes, and it's really back and forth. And I'm not that big of a fan of when you kind of have one person doing sketch comedy. It's usually like the guy doing sketch comedy and the girl's just kind of left there to roll her eyes. I really like it better when it's kind of a two-hander. So Jennifer was really the only person we thought of who could really do comedy and have banter like that, but also be a very good dramatic actress. And also, as the characters are both kind of flawed characters, are not like most of the characters you see in these types of films that are always really perfect. These characters are flawed. We really wanted someone who's really likable that the audience could root for and connect with. And with Jennifer, what you see is what you get. She's the genuine article. She's a really nice person, down-to-earth person. So, yeah, she was the only person we thought of.
That's awesome. Now, tell me, you are the king of going on a rant and improv. How do you do something two times? Because there's times you just go off. Can you redo that, or is every take different with you?
Sometimes I can redo it if we hit something that's really good and we know that we kind of want to stick with that. I can redo it, but sometimes you do it just once and then you'll go and find a different variation. The hardest thing when you do improv is obviously cutting it back and forth if you don't have the other person's side of stuff. So when I do stuff with Favreau, who plays my best friend in this movie, obviously who I did Swingers and Made with, we just set up two cameras at once. So most of the scenes that you'll see in the breakup with me and John, more than 50% of those scenes are improvised. We would just set up cameras on both of us and run them. So we have two cameras running simultaneously, so that way we're kind of allowed to go off on tangents and not be all that worried about being in the editing room, knowing we'd have matching stuff that we could cut together.
So DVD, when you release it, please promise us you're going to put lots of outtakes?
Oh, yeah, we'll have lots of outtakes. We'll have lots of fun stuff on that.
Okay, so alternate ending. We understand, is this true that there was one shot as a result of the reaction from test audiences seeing it?
Well, doing it with the studio, and ultimately they were great with me, but, they were my collaborators on it, and they kind of wanted to explore and see more traditional endings, but ultimately I stuck to my guns, and the ending that you see in the movie now is what the original intention of the movie was.
Perfect.
That's what we wanted to do. When we did Swingers, we didn't really know the ending until we started shooting, then we wrote the ending. When we did the movie Made, we knew what the ending would be, but we didn't write it until 6 months after we were done shooting. When you're doing a character-driven movie, it's not like you have a Death Star to blow up and then the good people win and the bad people lose, you kind of have to feel it as you go. So what we ended up with in the movie, without giving anything away, what happens with the characters physically is exactly what happened in the original screenplay, what we originally shot. We just ended up with a better version, having some time with it. And there was some exploration from the studio's part of wanting to see a more kind of traditional ending, and we just, myself particularly, felt that would just sort of ruin the whole point of it. So we did stick with the original intention.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, so you co-wrote the screenplay. You also have a production role. Vince, are we going to see you directing something anytime soon?
I would direct something if there was a story I was really passionate about that I wanted to tell, but I would be reluctant to say I'm going to direct just for doing it. There's so much work that goes into it. I think you'd have to really be motivated and really have a story that you were really dying to tell in order to sort of get through all the hard work of it. So I would be open to it, but it's nothing I'm looking to do in the immediate future.
How about a big Oscar role biopic? Are we going to be seeing that?
If I would really like material or like the script a lot of the director or something, I'd be open to doing it. But I don't really sort of start off saying, well, I want to look for something that would be kind of like an Oscar film or something. And I've done more dramatic stuff. I'm going to do some more dramatic stuff soon. But I just really depends on if I think it's a good story, or I don't really sort of think beforehand like, okay, does this have a chance for that or not? And part of the reason it's been a lot of fun doing comedies lately is just these are the scripts that I've gotten that I thought were sort of the best. It seems like a lot of the dramas nowadays as well are really kind of just thrillers or action films. There's not a lot of really good simple dramas that I've seen lately.
And we love the fact that you stick close to your camp, that you've worked with a lot of these folks before. You got your start, well, maybe not your start, but did you not do an after-school special with Peter Billingsley?
That's exactly right. That's me and Peter met on an after-school special about steroid abuse in high school.
Oh.
And me and him became best friends on doing that. And he was a producer on the movie. He also plays a part in the movie as well. And he was also, of course, Ralphie in Christmas Story.
Oh, yes.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid. And now he's all grown up.
Any shoot your eye out jokes on set? I can only imagine what being on set with you is like.
Well, I've known him. I'm 36 now, and we met when we were 20, so I've used all my shoot your eye out jokes, I think, in the first 3 years. So I got other stuff that I tease him about now.
And how about animated flicks? We love just how quick you are. Can we expect to see you, Vince Vaughn, doing a fast-talking animated character for Pixar or something?
I've been offered to do a couple of animated things, but nothing that I really love. But, yeah, I would love to do that. I would love to do an animated film, but it'd have to be one that I kind of really felt like, okay, this is kind of the right character to do. But I would definitely be open to that.
And you're working on, I guess, pre-production right now for a movie called The H-Man Cometh. Actually,
the thing I'm doing next is Sean Penn's directing a movie called Into the Wild, based on the screenplay, and I'll be acting in that with Sean. And then Sean will be directing it. And then the director of Wedding Crashers, David Dobkin, is directing a Christmas movie with me and Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti plays Santa Claus, and I play Santa Claus's bitter sibling, who is tired of all the attention that Christmas and Santa is getting.
That's called Joe Claus, isn't
it?
Yes. Life is good for you right now, isn't it, Vince?
Well, I feel fortunate. First off, I just feel lucky to have a chance making a living doing something that I love to do, and the fact that I've had some opportunities, I feel very blessed and very thankful for it. No question.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I know you're...
No, I'd like to say hi to all my family in Toronto, around the Toronto area. My mom was born in Brantford, right next to Hamilton, Ontario, so I say hi to all my family out there.
Anyone else you want to say hi to while we have you on the line?
That's it. Thank you.
And are you smoking or not smoking right now?
I quit smoking for about 8 months, and then I had a cigarette at the wrap party of the breakup. I thought, well, I've been off for 8 months. I can have just one cigarette, and in the course, I was back up to a pack a day. So I'm smoking again now, but looking for a week where I don't have anything to do, where I can stop again. I want to get off.
But you're smoking, and you look fantastic. We wish you well. We're really proud of you. We've been following your career since the very beginning, and it is so cool to see how much you've blown up, and yet you still seem like a pretty normal guy, which is awesome.
Well, I really appreciate it. It's fun talking with you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too.